so far we have been gathering information on background stuff so that we are better prepared for what we are doing anyway, which is the negotiation. So hopefully all of the steps and all of the aspects that we have talked about are preparing you step by step to do a good job when you are negotiating. And now we're going to go through the steps, the process of actually negotiating. And this is going to be the next two sections, and then we're going to close out the final conversation on international business relations with a discussion of laws surrounding negotiations. So in this segment, we will talk about the process of international negotiation. So here we go. There are 6 very important steps in a negotiation process. And we start with the preparation and site selection. So if this is assuming we are doing an international negotiation between two organizations, one in each of 2 countries, then we need to figure out what is the best way to prepare for that negotiation and where should the negotiation take place. So in the United States, we feel that the negotiation can take place anywhere. So whether we are in the US or overseas or even in a hotel in a neutral zone, for us, as long as the negotiation is taking place, it's okay. When we are dealing with Asian or Latin American corporations, their preference will be that the negotiation takes place in their office and in their country. It's a matter of comfort, it's a matter of tradition, and it's a matter of importance to them. So once we have prepared and we've selected the site of where we are going to negotiate, we then need to select the team. Who is it that's going to travel? Who's going to be in the room? Who is going to be setting things up and ensuring everything goes okay? And so that team selection is truly crucial to the success of the negotiation. If the wrong people are in the room, we are in trouble. So if you are negotiating with Asia, with Latin America, with India, they will expect that your top vice president is in the room. And if the negotiation is important enough, high enough level, they will expect the president of the organization to be present. Whereas in American culture, we send the mid-level negotiators. We don't want to bother the top team because it's just a contract. And so you can see that tension can start to arise to develop right there. Also, what is the knowledge and the background, the emotional makeup, the values of the people, the viewpoints, the cultural sensitivity of those people. All of this needs to be taken into account. And on top of that, the gender of the team should also be taken into consideration given the country that you are negotiating with. Once the preparation and the site is selected and the team is selected, not included in this is all the background setting up for the visit. Okay, the airline tickets, the hotel, who is going to be setting all of that up, where are you eating, all of those become important things to set up before the negotiation takes place. Even taking into account time that you need for your body to adjust to a new time zone so that you are in good shape when it is time to negotiate. A lot of times we think of arriving, stepping in, doing the job, boom, 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 we're moving forward. And you will not be able to do a good job if you are completely jet lagged and really struggling. So that jet lag, dealing with jet lag is something that you should learn. I have heard all sorts of interesting tips. Um, my personal strategy is to stay very well hydrated, but with water only, nothing with sugar, nothing with caffeine. Um, Although I'm not going to give up my coffee, I'm going to minimize it. And then staying awake until the new time zone's nighttime, and then sleeping a full night. Um, and it tends to work for me. Um, and then I tend to eliminate all reminders around me of the time zone that I left, so that my body has to adapt and I only see what's in front of me. I guess I believe that it fools my body into thinking it's always been in that time zone. And it kind of shocks it into the new time zone. There are a lot of other strategies that you should explore and figure out what works for you. Step 3 then is relationship building. And in relationship building, you are following the lead of the other country's level of importance. So give that relationship the level that they expect, that the others expect. Step number 4, we move into opening talks. You'd be very culturally sensitive to whether those talks are direct or indirect. Again, following the lead of the other country. And take as long as you need for this step. Then comes in discussions, understanding the other culture and being sensitive to it, and the importance of each step in that negotiation so that you fully understand the expectations of each culture. Finally, you come to the agreement, and the list of specifics is important. Page 213 has a pretty good list, 26 different points that should be in a distributor agreement. Obviously, these lists would be adapted to whatever the negotiation is that you are involved in. Going through these steps is extremely important, and being thorough in each of these steps so that the culture you are dealing with is adapting and completely coming alongside you in the negotiation. Do not expect to sign an agreement the first day, and come into it knowing culturally how long that should be and what the expectations of that agreement are in that culture. Some will think that you need to negotiate and give it time, and so you may walk away without a signed agreement because they still feel like they're building trust in relationship with you, and you need to go with that flow. Mistakes that are made in negotiations. This is simply a short list. Your book has 16 items. So here are some of them. You make a poor first impression. I was talking to Joe the other day, and he was talking about one of the things that he needs to, whenever he travels, adjust to is who takes the luggage. And he says his strategy, Joe, I hope you don't mind me sharing, is to hang back and wait and see if the other people, the hosts, are jumping in. And if they're not jumping in, then he makes the move to pick up luggage. But anyway, in a negotiation, that first impression is crucial, and knowing enough about the culture so that you don't make a blatant mistake right off the bat is very important. Another mistake is failing to listen or talking too much. As Americans, we are not very familiar with or comfortable with silence. And we may be dealing with a culture that is very comfortable with silence. So making sure that you are there, that you listen, that you pause, that you involve the other party, that you give that exchange time for that exchange is important. Another point is assuming that the other culture understands you. Do not assume that someone who is in the room negotiating with you understands your culture. It is your job to understand theirs. The fourth point, failing to ask the right questions or the important questions to the others. So making sure that you are asking those questions, and you can ask them at a certain point, what are the questions that I am not asking that you think are important to address? Could you ask some of those? And maybe they're willing to share with you. Point number 5, showing your discomfort with silence. We tend to fill every void of silence with noise, with talking, and the other culture may want some space to reflect. Assuming that we are negotiating in English, keeping that language very pure and very simple to the level of the comfort of the other people in the room. So using slang or unfamiliar words or colloquialisms or proverbs, expecting the team to understand all of that may be a little much and may hinder the negotiation. Another faux pas is interrupting the speaker. And another one is not understanding nonverbal cues. Your book goes on to talk about failing to note key points that the others are making, or irritating or contradicting points, not having a list of questions prepared, getting distracted, failing to start with conditional offers, or failing to summarize and restate the points that we've agreed on, only hearing what you want to hear, or failing to use first-class supporting materials. So the other team will expect you to use top-notch materials every step of the way. So negotiating strategies, we need to understand the difference between strategies and tactics. So your strategies are organized around, they're the main points around the desired objective, and the tactics are the maneuvers that help you gain success. So you want to make sure that you address the main points, those strategies, and that you use the tactics or maneuvers to support. This picture I included just to make sure that you understand how complex negotiations may be, and that there are different negotiated methodologies around the world that you should be aware of. So we're going to talk about BATNA. You may see that these are different groups that tend to negotiate easily together. So these are organizations that already have negotiating strategies in place. So BATNA. BATNA is the best alternative to negotiated agreements. Okay, so it's an acronym, BATNA. So understanding that what you want may not be what you get. We need to understand we make a proposal, what is a realistic alternative that we could agree on for a deal. So the more attractive your BATNA is compared with the proposals received, the more power you have. The less attractive your BATNA is compared to the deal on offer, the less power you have. So understanding that you have a zone or a range that's acceptable to you, and the buyer has a range that is acceptable to them. So the buyer has their desired price, for example, and the worst case scenario. We have our worst case scenario and our best, and we're looking for this possible zone of agreement, okay? And it is in this possible zone of agreement that we need to decide what is our bottom line. The buyer is coming in, or the seller, they're coming each in with what their best zone is, their worst case scenario, and they want to be above that. So in the negotiation process, we're trying to figure out what is their BATNA and what is our BATNA, and then what is our worst to best, their worst to best, and then figuring out that BATNA, the best alternative for both parties. There are 2 videos that I included. It's hard to watch the videos, so I'm going to just show you the title here so that you can find this. You may want to type this in, but I found this explanation of the BATNA to be very good. It's 4 minutes long. So if you're wanting to learn more about the BATNA, that might be a good alternative. So know your BATNA. You have your objectives. You're going to do a trial closing, see where they're at, and then they're going to counter offer, and you're going back and forth, and you're going to find a zone where both parties can agree. So the reason we negotiate to produce something better than the results we would get without negotiating. So what is that alternative to what I want and an alternative to what you want? And BATNA is a better measure, and it's flexible to exploring a solution. Compare a proposal to your BATNA and see if it better satisfies your interests. So it's the offer and counter offer and trying to find where both parties can be satisfied. So use your best BATNA and that of the other parties to find your ZOPA, the zone of potential agreement. Make sure the other side sees you as able to walk away without being rude. Protect your BATNA. Consider worsening your BATNA in carefully selected circumstances, and use your understanding of BATNA to understand if negotiation can change things, okay? So it's very important for you to understand what is your bottom line, what is their bottom line, and can you come to an agreement? That agreement needs to be beneficial to both parties, not hurtful to both parties. And then there is a second video.
We're joined by Horatio Falcao.
And this would be interesting to watch. It's a little bit older, but this professor is at INSEAD, which is one of the top universities in Europe, and it's in France. And he talks about avoiding pitfalls in cross-cultural negotiations. So you may want to look this video up and watch it as well. So that takes us through the end of this process of negotiation. In the next section, we will be talking about the components in an intercultural negotiation process.